Welcome to Under Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring a really fascinating concept. It sounds a bit like science fiction, honestly, but it's actually a very real, very human-centered idea for the future of, well, our most elite military forces. We're talking about the U.S. Special Operations Forces, USSOF. Now, I know when you hear AI and military together, you might immediately jump to, robots taking over, humans getting sidelined. But the sources we're digging into today, they argue for the exact opposite. There's this core belief in special ops, right? Humans are more important than hardware. And that's really the bedrock for this whole thing. So our mission today is to unpack how AI is being looked at not to replace people, but actually as a powerful enhancer, a tool to make operators stronger, more adaptive, more resilient, cognitively dominant even.
That's precisely it, yeah. We're looking closely at this document, The Adaptive Warrior, an AI-powered learning ecosystem. And it really lays out a concrete, research-backed plan for how AI can, well, speed up mastery, deepen resilience, and really build that adaptive capacity in every single operator. It's about using tech so that, when adversaries might try to overwhelm us with automation, our forces use AI to sharpen themselves, to uplift the human element.
Okay, so AI is the ultimate wingman, essentially, for training and personal growth.
Yeah.
Sounds fascinating. Let's dive in. So maybe first let's set the stage. What's really driving this? Why the need for such a, well, seemingly radical shift in training? What's changed on the battlefield?
Right. Well, the sources are very clear. The fundamental nature of conflict has shifted dramatically. It's not just about mass and steel anymore, like sheer firepower. It's increasingly about minds, about information. Today's operator, they deploy in an environment filled with what's called weaponized information and algorithmic warfare.
Algorithmic warfare.
Wow. Yeah. Think sophisticated psyops, adversarial AI, deepfakes designed to sow chaos, real-time disinformation campaigns. NATO researchers even put it starkly, the brain will be the battlefield of the 21st century.
The brain is the battlefield.
And humans are the contested domain. Imagine getting, say, a dozen sensor feeds, but each one is subtly wrong, or an order that looks like it's from command, but it's a deep fake. This fog of war isn't just incidental anymore, it's deliberately amplified to make our decision-making just collapse.
So physically, operators might be safer in some ways, but mentally, they're under assault. Which means, yeah, the old way of just training for known scenarios, it doesn't really cut it anymore. Like former SECDF Gates said, right? The U.S. has basically never gotten predicting the next war, right?
Exactly, never once. So the shift needed is huge, from reactive training, preparing for what we think might happen, to a proactive model, continuous adaptability. It's about building the capacity to adapt in real time to stuff you just didn't see coming. It's not just, adding another course. It's about ingraining a whole mindset, cognitive agility to face the completely unexpected. Because ultimately, the human operator is the weapon system, and this whole proposal is about investing deeply in that human capital.
Okay, that paints a clear picture. So if the battlefield is attacking the mind, what does readiness even mean now? What are the specific gaps this AI approach is trying to fill?
That's the core question they tackle. The document pinpoints 4 critical learning gaps, and they're all interconnected. These aren't just about, say, shooting straight or jumping out of planes. It's about how operators think, adapt, and stay resilient when things go off script. Readiness is adaptability now.
Okay, so what's the first one?
First is cognitive and psychological resilience. And this isn't just like vague mental toughness. It's a trainable ability, performing optimally under really extreme stress and then bouncing back fast. The vision here is using AI to create bioadaptive stressors in training, scenarios that systematically push operators, conditioning them to expand that window where they perform best under pressure.
Bioadaptive stressors.
Yeah, the goal is achieving what they call stress immunity, measurably cutting down the time it takes for heart rate, cognitive markers to get back to baseline after something stressful. It's about getting to hyper-focused deliberation, where performance actually gets better with stress up to a point, instead of just falling apart.
Okay, enhancing performance under pressure. What's next?
Next up is adaptive unlearning. This sounds a bit counterintuitive, maybe.
Unlearn.
Yeah. In conflicts that change really fast, an old habit, even one that used to work perfectly, can suddenly become fatal. So this is the ability to consciously shed those ingrained tactics, things that were effective yesterday but are actually dangerous today. Think about like a veteran breacher. Their muscle memory for clearing a room worked great against insurgents. But now, maybe that same technique makes them a target for tiny autonomous drones.
Ah, I see. The old playbook is suddenly wrong.
Exactly. So the AI system would deliberately create scenarios where the textbook tactics fail, forcing operators to problem solve creatively, cultivating mental flexibility. It's about being willing, even proud, to ditch a technique used to rely on when the evidence changes.
Right. Makes sense. What's the third gap?
Third is epistemological resilience. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a mouthful, I know.
Yeah, sounds academic.
It does, but it's
Yeah.
critical. It basically means the ability to figure out what's true and what's not and make good decisions when the information itself is being messed with, weaponized.
Like dealing with those deepfakes and disinformation we talked about?
Precisely. Operators face this fog of falsehood. So in training, the AI system would actually contaminate the intelligence feeds and scenarios deliberately. And it measures how well the operator spots the inconsistencies, the fake stuff. It's about learning to find truth, even when surrounded by AI-generated lies.
Wow. Training them to be critical thinkers in the heat of the moment.
That's the idea. And the final one,
A fourth gap.
adaptive innovation. This is the ability to basically invent new solutions under fire when the standard answers just aren't working. SOF history is full of this kind of on-the-spot ingenuity. So the AI ecosystem acts like a catalytic sandbox. It uses generative AI to throw these really off-the-wall scenarios at operators, situations where there is no standard operating procedure.
So it forces them to improvise.
Exactly. Forces them to design a novel course of action, create new tactics right there and then. The goal is to nurture creative genius under fire, to produce what they call emergent adaptive solutions.
Okay, so resilience under pressure, unlearning old habits, seeing through deception, and innovating on the fly. Those go way beyond traditional drills. And the answer they propose is this AI-powered ecosystem, a kind of tireless coach and sparring partner. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. How does this AI system actually work? You mentioned it has layers.
It does. 3 distinct layers, but they all work together. The first is the foundational layer, AI-driven human optimization. Think of this as precision training, quality over quantity, moving away from one-size-fits-all drills. It uses adaptive learning algorithms to help operators get proficient faster. They mention a pilot, for instance, AI-driven tactical blind spot remediation. If data shows teams consistently miss clearing, say, rear sectors during room clearing—
A common problem, I imagine.
Can be.
Yeah?
The AI forensic learning engine would auto-generate specific micro-training modules just for that weakness. They actually hypothesized something like a 23% reduction in time to mastery for skills fixed this way.
Wow, that's specific.
Yeah, they're aiming for measurable results. This layer also introduces something called a cognitive digital twin for each operator.
Okay, hold on. A cognitive digital twin. That sounds seriously futuristic. What is that?
Hey, it does sound like something from a movie, yeah. But imagine basically a data-driven avatar of yourself. It continuously analyzes your performance data, strengths, weaknesses, how you learn best, and it uses that to predict your future performance. And crucially, it schedules just enough, just-in-time sustainment training to keep skills sharp, prevent decay.
So it knows when you're about to forget something and prompts you.
Kind of, yeah. But more proactively. The idea is maybe a 10 percentage point jump in skill retention, while potentially reducing overall training hours, because it's so targeted, ultra-personalized learning.
Okay, that foundational layer sounds powerful.
Okay.
Then the second layer, that's where the AI becomes more of a direct sparring partner.
Exactly, that's the advanced layer. AI as a cognitive stressor and safety net. This is where the Adaptive Environment System, or AES, comes in. It's an AI-driven training environment, but it's monitoring the operator's biometrics in real time. Heart rate, eye tracking, maybe even EEG patterns, brainwaves.
Whoa.
And based on that data, the AES dynamically tunes the scenario difficulty, pushes you harder if you're cruising, eases off slightly if you're overloaded, keeps you in that optimal learning zone, that sweet spot for growth we talked about.
Like a spotter for your brain.
That's a great analogy, yeah. Pushing you to the edge, but crucially with safety nets built in so you're not, completely overwhelmed or psychologically harmed.
Okay, that was my next question. That sounds intense. How do you manage the risks? Ensure safety and ethical boundaries when the AI is designed to stress people out.
That's absolutely critical, and the sources stress this. Human oversight is key. The system uses what they call a human-centric risk and performance taxonomy. Fancy term, but basically, human experts define the absolute red lines.
Hard stops.
Exactly. Things the AI will never cross, like a maximum heart rate threshold or certain EEG patterns indicating extreme distress. The AI stops or modifies the scenario immediately. Plus, all the AI's actions need to be transparent and auditable. They even mention metrics like a validation explainability index, so humans can see why the AI adjusted something.
So you can understand its reasoning.
Right, and a human-corroborated efficacy rate to make sure human instructors actually agree with what the AI is doing. There's also a planned human performance review board, or HPRB, to constantly audit the data, ensure everything aligns with AFSOC values. It's about bounded, principled AI assistance. Human control is paramount.
Okay, that's reassuring. And the third layer, that takes a bigger picture view.
It does, the strategic layer. AI-powered curricular autonomy and foresight. This is about the institution learning, adapting, and looking ahead. It has two main jobs. First, the real-world gap mirror. It basically sucks in data from actual operations, lessons learned, reports on new enemy tactics.
Stuff coming back from the field.
Exactly. Then the AI, after it's been reviewed and curated by human experts, that's crucial, it generates new training scenarios based on that fresh intel. So, say, Intel picks up a new type of drone swarm tactic being used. The AI could quickly spin up a training scenario incorporating that. The goal is that operators have already seen a close approximation before they face it for real, leading to, hopefully, better performance, faster decisions.
Makes sense. Closing the loop between operations and training much faster.
Right. And the second part of this layer is the strategic foresight engine. This is really forward-looking. It scans massive amounts of data, tech trends, academic papers, intelligence reports, even, they mention, speculative fiction.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, to try and predict the next threats, things that aren't even on the radar yet. It might generate plausible future scenarios like, what if quantum encrypted comms become widespread by 2040? How would that change things? And then it suggests ways to start thinking or training for those possibilities now. It acts as a strategic thinking partner for the command, cultivating an innovation mindset for the long haul.
Wow. Okay, so this whole three-layered system sounds incredibly ambitious. But how do you actually implement something like this? Get it from concept to reality into the hands of operators?
Yeah, it's not like flipping a switch. They're very clear it has to be a crawl, walk, run approach, phased. Evidence-based, it starts with phase 1, foundational validation. A relatively small, maybe 9-month pilot costs around, say, $1.2 million in their example, and it focuses on a specific known tactical gap, like that rear sector clearing example.
Something concrete and measurable.
Exactly. The goal is to demonstrate clear value, show that measurable, say, 23% reduction in time to neutralize those threats, show that 10 percentage point better skill retention, prove the basic concept works.
And if phase 1 works,
then you can move to phase 2, advanced capability validation. This is bigger, maybe 12 to 18 months. Here you start testing the more advanced stuff, the adaptive environment system, maybe the epistemological resilience training. You'd measure things like decision speed under pressure. They call it a rapid decision outcome efficiency score, and physiological stress markers, aiming for maybe a 20% average speed increase in solving complex problems. And that human performance review board oversees it all, making sure it's safe and effective. Human oversight at every stage.
Okay, but even with AI helping, generating all these scenarios, tracking all this data, wouldn't it still require a huge team of human experts to create and manage all the content? Seems like a potential bottleneck.
That's a really common concern, and they address it directly. The idea is to use AI itself to help with that workload. They call it an intelligent content distillation engine. Using natural language processing, the AI can actually read and summarize Intel reports or even draft initial training content based on new data.
Ah, so the AI does the first pass.
Right. It significantly reduces the time human subject matter experts have to spend just sifting through info and writing basic stuff. They estimate maybe a 40–50% reduction in content development time for updates. So it helps scale the human expertise you do have. Lets the experts focus on the high-level stuff, the validation, the really tricky bits.
Smart. Okay, one last piece on making it real. Leadership buy-in.
Yeah.
How do you convince commanders to invest in something this, well, potentially disruptive and still evolving?
That's crucial. They propose what they call a tiered partnership framework. Basically, it has clear on-ramps and off-ramps at each stage. Tier 1 is just that initial phase 1 pilot. Relatively low risk, modest budget, but designed for a high chance of showing a clear win. Leadership only commits to that first step. They get to see the actual results from phase 1 before deciding whether to proceed to tier 2, the broader pilot.
So it's not a massive all-or-nothing bet up front.
Exactly. It's a controlled ramp-up.
Yeah.
AFSO leadership can make informed, evidence-based decisions at each point. It demonstrates accountability and builds trust by delivering proven value incrementally.
Okay, so stepping back from all the layers and phases, what's the big takeaway here? What does it all really mean?
Well, in the end, all this tech, all these algorithms, they serve one single purpose: to forge a more adaptable, more resilient, more cognitively dominant SOF operator. It comes back to that core truth. Humans are more important than hardware. This isn't AI replacing humans, it's AI enhancing humans.
Giving them the edge.
Giving our people the decisive edge. In a world where adversaries might actually use AI to try and dehumanize warfare, make it purely about algorithms, our response, this proposal suggests, is to use AI to actually rehumanize our warfighting, to double down on the human element. Because the human mind, its creativity, its intuition, its moral compass, that's the one weapon system adversaries cannot just copy or mass produce.
That's our asymmetric advantage.
If we choose to invest in it, yeah, it's the ultimate advantage.
You can almost picture it. A future mission. Small ASOC team, they hit something totally unexpected. Maybe a sophisticated deep fate comms attack combined with, I don't know, those autonomous drone swarms. Chaos, conflicting information. But the team doesn't freeze because they've seen something like it in the AI training. Their epistemological resilience kicks in. They instinctively question the fake messages. They pull off some innovative tactics, something they basically invent right there. But the seeds were planted in those AI creative exercises.
Yeah.
Maybe one operator starts to get overwhelmed, but that neural conditioning from the AES helps them snap back, regain focus in seconds, not minutes.
Right.
And they pull through.
Right.
And later, if someone asks how they did it, the team leader just says, "We were ready for anything."
That's the vision, and it creates this amazing feedback loop, right? Every mission feeds data back to make the training smarter. The smarter training makes the operator better. The better operator makes the next mission more likely to succeed, which feeds more data back.
A virtuous cycle.
A virtuous cycle of human-machine teaming? Absolutely. But with the human always, always at the center.
It really is like giving each operator that AI wingman for their own growth. So maybe here's a final thought for everyone listening to chew on. If the future, whether it's warfare or just, navigating our complex world, depends on agile minds and this kind of AI-guided learning, what does it mean for you? How can you cultivate your own adaptive capacity? Or that epistemological resilience, figuring out truth from fiction? Or even adaptive unlearning, letting go of old ways? How can you apply that idea of being ready for anything in whatever your daily deep dives might be? We've been on a deep dive into the future of human-AI collaboration in special operations. Really fascinating stuff. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to our next deep dive with you.